Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Certainly an interesting start to our live stream, and it looks like our technical issues are now over. So, depression, it affects us in some way, shape or form. We've got a guest today, Ben. He's going to help us to look at the aspect of depression, and I'd like to welcome you once again, Ben, to the live stream.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here. So, how's the weather in Sweden?
The weather is fantastical. It's 24 degrees Celsius. So yeah, that's the tricky thing with Sweden. Summers can be amazing or they can be completely horrible. And hopefully this summer will be good. It looks like that at least.
Well, that'll be nice. I look forward to getting to summer in my time when it arrives. But it's okay. It is winter, and we need winter to survive and enjoy life and different things like that. So depression.
Yes. I was thinking, I want to, just because of the intro, if it's okay with you, Shane, that I wanted to jump in directly just because, by the way, I don't know if it's you that have done the intro. It's a beautiful intro. I thought it was beautiful. The hand that was painting that. It looked like also a woman sitting down and bending over in a very sad, depressed position, whatever you want to call it. And that is probably going to touch that subject a little bit more deeper later. But that's the thing, what I specifically want to do with depression. And I want to normalize it and not have it as this stigma as it is today. And I feel like, because ask anyone in the world, no matter if you're a woman or a man, touching the subject of depression becomes a very awkward subject for most people. They become very uncomfortable. They don't really know how to react. They don't know what to do, what to say, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to make depression so, let's say, almost like basic. I want it to be almost like if I tell to a friend of mine saying like, you know what, I have such a headache today, or I have, my stomach is bothering me. The same I want to be able for us to do with depression and just say, you know what, I feel like I'm very down today. I feel depressed. And I don't want that to be such a like, trying to like avoid kind of subject. So, and I feel like depression, that's why it gets so anti. That's also why we have, antidepressants. It's like everything is against it. And I think it's so sad because it's such an important topic in today's world, and especially among men that sadly are very, very bad talking about it openly. And that's what I started doing now during last year when I opened up about my suicidal depression and how much I've been battling for the majority of my adult life.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's one of those subjects people don't like to talk about, and you're right, it does need to be normalized to be able to be brought out into the open. So congratulations on doing what you're doing with regards to depression. So let's make a start then. Your story, you just mentioned some of the things you've been through.
Yep.
What made you realize that there's a need for the things that you're talking about now and the view that you've got to be able to bring it out in the open?
So for me, it's been, if I look back now at my own story and I look back at other people that I've talked about and seen different type of scenarios, different upbringings for different people, is that if I look back at my childhood and my upbringing, I had an amazing childhood. I'm not going to complain. It was me, my brother, my two parents. I'm half Swedish, half Spanish, born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden, amazing country. The only thing I could say was my parents got divorced at 13, which was like a little bit of a rough time for me there, but it was not far from being rough. I've heard stories where I'm like, I just dropped my jaw and I feel almost ashamed saying that I've been suffering from depression. So that was for me, my initial years was just suppressing that because I was like, oh, but I don't have any depression. I just have a down period. And I was neglecting and suppressing it as much as I could. And it wasn't until last year when I finally acknowledged that I actually have depression. And not only acknowledging, I actually accepted that I had it. Those for me is always when people ask like, oh, what should I do? What should, and when it comes to tips and advice, there are a lot of things I can bring to the table there. But probably two, if not the most important things, is acknowledging that you actually have it, and also accept that you have it.
Okay.
For me, that was such a very releasing feeling, and I'm okay when depression comes, because it can come anytime. It doesn't have to be just something that triggers it. It can be, I can have the most amazing time, everything's perfect in my life, but one day to another something happens. And if it's some sort of like clinical depression, it might be. I think we have all kind of different stages or different types of depression. It's still depression. It's very similar feeling, but it might be, I got through a horrible divorce and my life is ruined, or whatever it might be. They got depressed because of that. Completely normal thing. Somebody close to them passed away. Very depressed because of that. Normal. But in my case, it's been, sure, I had moments where I, been going tough moments in my life that I had depression because of that. But for me, most of the times has been actually from out of nothing. And that spirals down into this deep, dark rabbit hole. And I'm just, this self-doubt just grows and grows and grows. And I started having the complete opposite to self-compassion. I'm just trashing myself totally.
Okay.
And it goes so far down to, I feel like there's no end. I feel like it's better that I just take my life. So I've been very, very many times down to that road, like, shit, I should probably end my life, which is very horrible. And now as I said, and now after really acknowledging it and accepting it, I've still had periods of depression after that. And I've been down to that rabbit hole again, but I am better now to, try to tackle it and also accept that it's there. So I almost see this a little, depression is an invisible friend that come visit me from time to time. And I'm being like, sit down, let's have a chat. And just me and him just talking and trying to, I respect that he's there. I'm not trying to fight it. Because before, back in the days, I was fighting it constantly. I thought I was going to win. I was just, the more I was fighting it, the more I was pulling more and more down. So that's also a very big key point that I feel people should take. Never try to fight it, accept that it's there, and see it more as a deep rest. Like, it's okay if you're going to be a little bit disconnected for a day or two. It's fine. Let people know, what you're going through, and obviously talking about it. Being vulnerable enough. And I feel like I've completely undressed myself when it comes to that. I've been extremely vulnerable about my depression. I did several blog posts talking very specific in details and everything, what I've been going through. And that helps a lot. It's almost like I want to expose the depression, that white elephant in the room. I want to tell everyone, hey, here it is. Look at it. I don't want to have any shame about it. And I think that's exactly what depression doesn't want. They don't want people to be, talking about it. They want to be just with you by yourself in that dark room in the bed, not going anywhere, not doing anything. That's exactly what depression wants. And you should always try to do the opposite, which is easier said than done. It's not so easy. But of course, with practice and doing certain things. And then sometimes, of course, I can snap out of it pretty soon. I can feel like it's coming. It can take, minutes, it can take a couple hours, and I'm out of it. But sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so if there's people out there listening to the live stream or going to catch up with it later, what are some of the steps? You've highlighted some of the things that you've done. What would you suggest for those ones who are really struggling with depression that they could do and take to be able to start getting on top of it at that point in time?
So I like to see it as you have some outer things that you can incorporate into your life, and you have some inner things. And what I mean by outer and inner is some outer work that you need to do and some inner work that you need to do. And the outer work is what has really worked for me, and what I believe is kind of a red line that will work for everyone, or the silver line, is that for me, exercise has been a very big part of my life. I'm a personal trainer myself, and not just because I'm a trainer, but I feel like also a little bit of personality I am. And I don't have ADHD, at least I haven't been diagnosed, but if I would go to a doctor, most likely they will say that I have ADHD. I was being very energetic as a kid. And so for me, it's always been like, do something. And exercise for me, I mean, I did sports all my life. I played basketball up to elite level. And now I do a lot of just different type of training, if it's at the gym or if it's running or whatever I do. But exercise, I think, is super healthy for you. Eating healthy is also very important. You're trying to focus on the right stuff. For example, excess amount of sugar, maybe not the best, that can trigger sometimes depression. I've noticed that in not just me and other people as well. And get sunlight. Try to get sunlight, especially if you live in a country, if you have the sun. It's a little bit harder. For example, I know in Sweden during November, December, not that much sun. So that's a little bit tougher, but at least as much as you can, go out. And if you don't have the sun, at least go out and just get fresh air and go for a walk. Just go for a walk. It makes wonder. What more do you have? I mean, surround yourself with people around you that good support system. I think is super good. If it's your parents, brothers, sisters, family members, whoever it is, but some people you can trust, you feel like you can open up and talk about this about. And it's not about that they're going to come with the solutions to you. It's just for them to be an ideal ear, or have an ear to listen to what you have to say. Something just to open up and just talk about it. So that's a little bit of the outer part. What I feel like you should do, the outer work, and the inner work. Just what I said earlier, acknowledging it, accepting it. Some things I really like has been meditation, works very well for me. Just become very present, you and your breath. It's beautiful. And I know sometimes this can be hard for people. They just start getting, ants in the pants after a couple of minutes. But it was for me as well. I thought like it's going to be impossible for me to sit 10 minutes. Because I was feeling, just after a minute, I was like it's like, no, this is not for me. And obviously, meditation can be done in many ways. For me, go out and run. And for me, going out, having a great workout at the gym, for me, that's kind of a meditation. But what I'm talking about is more specifically just you sitting still, either with guided meditation with some app. You have Calm, Headspace, Waking Up. You have tons of great apps out there. Or if you just want to sit quietly, and I mean, even outside with the birds, whistling. I mean, it's amazing. So that's really good. I also feel very, very good. What has worked for me innerly is journaling. So every day I try to journal. First thing in the morning, I wake up, and just whatever comes up in your mind, just empty it. I see it almost like this mental windshield wipers. And it's just like, just get out the clutter of the head and just write down whatever it is. And it helps also. It can be, and not just when you feel down, it could be when you're happy as well. So I think it's in general, journaling has been a very good tool for me as well.
Great. Yeah, there's a lot of things that people journal and they benefit from. But some of the other suggestions, you talk about a good support network. You talk about getting out in the air, eating properly, exercising. Tell me, out of all those things, which would you suggest you start first?
Start first. Gosh, that was a hard question you gave me, Shane. Which should you start with? Oh my God.
The reason I ask that is some people just don't know what they can do, or just anything.
I know. Okay, so I'm a very minimalistic person. I don't know how much you know about my past. We have been, anyways. I'm not going to go into the minimalism lifestyle now, but I love that. I want to, and with that said, why I mentioned is because I like to simplify things. I think we tend to overcomplicate things so much nowadays. I think it's also because we have this insane thing called the internet. We have so much stuff on just a couple of clicks, and we can get, oh Jesus, it probably demands, I don't know how many lifetimes to go through all that. But so with that said, I'm like, we tend to, for example, when it comes to being healthy, when it comes to, because I work as a nutrition coach as well, combined with the training part. So I love to just make it simpler. Simplify everything for my clients, because it's like, oh, what should I eat? Some people say you should eat this, or some people should, say you should eat that, or this diet is the newest, or this is that, and just to break it down to make it very simple. And why I say this, like, what can then take? What is the most simple of these things that I just mentioned to you? I gotta say, the most simple: go out and go for a walk. I feel like nobody would be saying like, no, I can't do that. That's too hard. No, I think everybody can go out, get some fresh air. It doesn't matter if the weather's shitty. Go out just for a walk, and for yourself. Go by yourself, or go with a person and have a nice discussion. But I think that would be maybe number one. And talk with someone. And actually, maybe number one and two. You get the support system I was talking about, and then starting corporate as well. Maybe do some, do some exercise, some form, and start small. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to go to the gym now, crush it an hour at the gym 5 times a week. No, start with doesn't even have to be the gym, you know. It could be just go
Yeah.
out and go for a little run, or go out and go do a couple of squats and push-ups, or whatever the case might be. I think it just gets some sort of like thing going on for your body. It helps tremendously. I don't know if
No, this is
that
very,
answered your question
yeah,
good.
no, it does. They're very simple. And that's
Oh
what we
yeah.
need at the start, like you say, simplicity.
And I gotta say, you know, talking about simplicity and stuff. So how I coach my clients, I have a lot of online clients, and instead of working, you know, towards an outcome goal, I work more towards a behavior goal. And with that said, what I mean by that is that I work a lot with behaviors and habits. That for me is so
Yeah.
much more important than saying like, hey, I want to lose, you know, 20 kilos, even if that's gonna happen through this. But I don't want to have that as a goal, even though that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I will still focus on what should you do, like what habits and what type of behaviors do you need to incorporate to reach that minus 20 kilos. Those are the more important stuff. And so with that said, I work with one habit for 2 weeks with a client, just
Okay.
one. And it might sound,
Yeah.
and people may be like, no, but it's okay, I can take on, you know, 3 4 new things. The problem is, just by taking on two, so if you do one habit, most of the time you will probably succeed. You have an 85. So they've done studies on this, like 85% chance of actually be able to do that habit and keep on doing that habit. So that's a pretty high percentage just with one habit. But you could incorporate a second one, that percentage drops down to 35%. And if you incorporate a third, that's almost like you're going to completely fail, almost 100% fail on that. So 0% you're going to be able to do. So that's thing they've been doing and trying out. And I feel that's kind of interesting and remarkable, just because, I mean, I can speak for myself also. I've tried many times, like, I'm going to do all these new things. And even though I have a very good discipline with myself, I still tend to fail. I mean, you might do it for a week, maybe two, but no, it's not going to be long term. There might be some Superman or Superwoman out there that be able to do it, but that's not the norm.
That's not the norm. Yeah. Do you think we need to be realistic?
uh, yes, yes, and you know what? Yes and no. I'm not gonna say hate, but I have a love-hate relationship with that word. Just because I feel sometimes, I think realistic is good. We should be realistic, but also, what is realistic?
Mm,
And for example, for me, it's not realistic seeing an airplane weighing I don't know how many tons lifted from
yeah.
the ground and go out. That's for me not realistic. There are certain things in, at least for I think for us human. I mean, of course, they can probably explain it now in a pretty good way why that happens. But there's
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
things that just, wow, how's that even possible? I think it's kind of amazing, just you and me you're sitting in New Zealand, I'm sitting in Sweden, we're looking at each other, talking and having this. I think this is like, is this realistic to actually do this? As I said, I have like a both I like it and I like it not. But I think, coming to your point, yes, I think we should be realistic with certain things.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get in a little bit more detail. You mentioned you want to talk about a few things with regards to depression. Where would you like to start?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You were talking before, there's a number of points you'd like to bring out with regards to depression. What would you do in the way of encouraging somebody to be able to start working on depression itself, apart from the simplistic things we're talking about?
Which points are you referring to more?
You just mentioned there were some important things that you wanted to bring out.
Oh,
No,
you mean of the ones that I already talked about?
no, those are the points that you wanted.
I mean, the most important, I think, how to cope with depression and what I think about it, I think is very important. I think those has been the very important points to bring out. I don't know
Okay.
if you mean specifically what I mentioned about the earlier. I just did a little hint about us men not talking about depression.
No, that's fine. That's good that we've covered some of those important points. So let's just go back to some of your story, if you don't mind, that
Yeah.
you went through everything the way you did. What was the hardest thing that you had to cope with out of all those things to start you on your journey of getting on top of the depression?
The hardest thing, I mean, by far for me, if I look back, and I will still look back if we would talk again in 5 years, um, And so as I see, I mean, you never know, obviously, but if somebody asks me, oh, do you think you will ever, I will win over the depression, or if I think I will ever be quit the depression, or, get rid of it, I don't think so. And I want to have that mindset. And it's not that I want to be pessimistic. I'm extremely optimistic person, but I've been neglecting it for so many years, to the point that it took my life during so many circumstances. So I feel like I, as I said, I have accepted that I have it. The toughest part is obviously when you are in your deepest depression, when you feel like suicide is the only way out. And that's the horrible thing. And I suffer tremendously when I read about people, and it doesn't have to be just celebrities. It's, unfortunately, I would say maybe it's most them you hear about, because it is a celebrity that gets the big newspaper flash, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's by reading that, and then what they've been going through, and it's been depression has been the background. But even if you see statistics as well, you see there's I mean, I think it's just skyrocketing now, suicides due to mental health struggles that we all have. And I think it's by men has it's 3-4 times more men that commit suicide than women, which is also horrible. And that's the reason why I also started to talking more about it and open up and more about it. And as I said, that I want to normalize it and not stigmatize it. And I think it's so important to talk about it. And I feel like, so from my journey now, what I've been, my takeaway has been like, I want to keep on working with this more and more and more, because this is such an important topic for me. And I mean, I can't guarantee I will be here for the rest of my life. Who knows? Will it be so strong one day that, it will take my life away? I don't know. And I don't want to sound dramatic or sad here, but it's just the reality. I would always try to do my best to, cope with it the way I can, and try to deal with it. And for me, I gotta say, just to go back a little bit, if I wouldn't have had my mom during these years, I would not sit here talking to you today, because she was always a little turning point that made me, I'm not going to take my life. And what I said is because my mom had her first cancer back in 98, ovarian cancer, and they removed it, the whole uterus and everything. No, you say uterus, where the eggs comes from?
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's what it's called.
Yeah, it's in the stomach. And anyways, so she miraculously recovered, and then she had it again 10 years later, and then she had it again now just 2 years ago. But I always said that, like, if the cancer would have took my mom, I would not be sitting here today, because then the choice would have been much easier, because that was always my turning point. And I was always thinking, like, if I will go through with this, the one that's going to suffer so extremely much is going to be my mom. And my mom has been my absolute biggest supporter by far of all the people. I've had amazing people in my life, have support from many people, but my mom has always been my number one rock, when it comes to everything. And I feel like I can't do this to her. I will be, I know I would suffer so much in the afterlife, if you can say that, because of doing it. I was like, I would not be able to live with that, if I now can say that. Even if I wouldn't be alive, it would just be too hard of a feeling knowing that. So yeah, and I'm not saying now, because she's 72 or 73, sorry, and I don't know how many more years I'm going to have her. And of course, probably going to be 30 more years. Hopefully I will, but so and I'm not saying just if she, let's say, pass away in the next coming years, I'm not saying I'm going to disappear, but I'm so much, I mean, I'm such a more stronger person right now today than what I was, before, when I didn't even want to acknowledge it, or I didn't want to accept that I had it.
Yeah. Jenna came to our rescue with regards to what that area is called. It's called the ovaries.
The ovaries, thank you. I said the uterus. My bad.
Well, we know now. We've learned something. So you mentioned in what you were just telling me with your story, neglect. Can you just enlarge a little bit on that? You said we neglect ourselves, or you neglected yourself. What's that mean?
So neglected, I would say, and I've done that so much with, now I don't, thankfully, but it's not realizing that I actually had depression. I was like, no,
Okay.
this is not me. Because the average person that meets me, they always like, holy shit, your energy, wow, you're this big smile, you're such a positive dude. I'm a go-getter. I mean, I've been
Yep.
doing decently for myself. I lived in 4 different countries, 9 different cities, and I've been doing exactly, live the life on my terms, doing exactly what I want to do. And so it's not that I have like not been able to do things. I still managed to push forward, but it's still, I was neglecting it because I was like, no, I'm just having a downer. No, I'm just like a little bit. This happened probably to everyone, and I still just didn't want to realize that I had it. And as I said, it wasn't
Mm,
until last year, and we're talking, to my real consciousness, I would say 15 years of depression. I probably had it even before, but then I was probably completely disconnected from it. It's actually when I really started to see, when did I start having all these bouts of like down periods? And I would say the last 15 years.
wow. So did it get bad when you said it took 15 years to realize that? Was it a
Yeah.
progressive thing to the point where it got really, really bad?
And it's definitely been a progress. So it started off when I was living still in Sweden. From Sweden, I moved down to Barcelona, Spain. Had an amazing life there. From Spain, it became Miami, United States. Was there for a while. Then I went to California, lived in Huntington Beach and in Los Angeles. And it was towards the end of my stint in LA. So my wife and I, we just moved out of Los Angeles, and now we're dividing the time between Sweden and Costa Rica. And it wasn't actually until, I would say, probably the last year in Los Angeles, like around 2019, 2019, 2020, which was like really the time where I'm like, I had enough. I came
Mm,
to a point where I was just like, I've had enough. I had enough. I have enough. And I'm like, it doesn't matter how this will turn out. I need to open up and talk about it and really realize it. And the more I've been doing it, the more amazing I've been feeling about it. As I
cool.
said, I still been having some doubts with depression, but yeah, I definitely feel better in talking about it. There shouldn't be any shame in this.
No, there shouldn't be.
Hmm.
Like, okay, so you worked out the aspect that you needed to get on top of it. How have you progressed since you've got on top of it? You just said you feel great. People see that you're happy and you're an outgoing person. What were some of the steps um, that now you realize that you wish you had of taken earlier?
Oh, so I can say all these outer things that I mentioned about the outer work and the inner work, all
Mm,
the outer work I was already doing. So all the outer work that I mentioned, I was already doing and have been doing it for the past, almost the past 15 years. I gotta say, the inner work, that was actually what was missing from my part. And coming back again, and not to repeat it again, but what I wished I would have done is actually acknowledge it and accept it. That would have helped so much. Then after that, you can take the steps necessary to maybe incorporate some other things what you want to do. But I think it's so important that I feel I'm a big thinker. I like to think. I like to,
mm-hmm.
have a lot of discussion with myself in my head. It's good and it's bad, if I want to say it like that. That inner voice sometimes takes over, and that's the horrible part. But it's also, I can have some really nice, beautiful discussion with myself and actually get to understand myself much more. And
Yep.
and for me, that's also very important. Who am I? That's a very big question, according to me. I think many people, they don't really know. They might just say, "Oh, well, I'm, you know, Michael Johnson, 46 years old, or whatever."
Yeah. Yep.
It's like they're going very to just like the identity they have on them. But who are you as a person? Like, really dig deep down and trying to find, your values, who you are as a person. Look through your, what you've been through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like building on that and trying to really figure out, because I also feel, I mean, I'm 43 today, and I'm looking back like during my 20s, my 30s, and now, and I'm like, wow. And I'm not gonna say, this is a classical age for middle age crisis or anything, but I also feel like you're coming into age where like, shit,
Yeah.
where am I now? You can get a little bit almost like shaken, a little shaken up. I don't know, how old are you, Shane?
I'm 53, 10 years older than you.
Oh, 53. You definitely don't look like 53. You look younger.
Now, through that time, you mentioned some of the steps you've taken. We've had a question come in, which is a very good one with regards to medication. Were you prescribed any medication? Jenna would like to know this.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I be completely open on what I think about it?
Oh, please do. This is what it's all
Absolutely.
about.
I'm extremely against prescription medication, and I'm going to tell you why. Because, and let me make it clear for everybody that's listening to this, is that obviously that's better than actually taking your life. So of course I feel, but that I feel like prescribed medications should be the very, very last thing to do on the list. I think we still need, I think people tend to be like, they go to the doctor, they say, oh God, I feel so anxious lately. Oh, I feel so depressed or whatever. Instead of looking into that person's life and see what it is, in the many people's case, it could be, oh, well, they have a work that really sucks. They're in a horrible relationship they need to get out of. There are a lot of things that maybe they eat horribly. They don't exercise. They just gain a lot of weight, whatever it might be. So tons of these natural things that triggers. And the doctor and me living in the US, seeing how this prescribed medications getting prescribed to people like if it was just candy from a store, it's horrible, and I'm very against it. I'm very against in general big pharma because of the mega trillion industry it is, and how I feel like they're not even actually helping. It's different if the medication itself actually cure the depression, but it's not. It's just a band-aid. It's a pill you take in the morning. You probably wake up and the first thing that person needs to do, boom, to take that tablet. That tablet will go on for, I don't know exactly how it is, if it's like 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours even, maybe, I don't know. And then boom, you have to get on it again and get on it again and get on it again. So it's nothing, it will be different if it's a medication like, here it is, here's a bottle of pills, it's 30 pills, take one a day, and after that, your depression is gone forever. That would have been amazing. Then I will be like, hallelujah, let's go for it. But that's not the case. So these people need to be on it for the rest of their life. Or if they're trying to wean off from it, it's going to be even worse. So I feel like that little tiny self-confidence that we still have, people that suffer from depression, when you are that very, very down deep, that gets replaced by a fake happiness, a fake confidence because of what this pills does. So I'm very, very against it. When it comes to that, there's, for me then, which is unfortunately illegal, but it's getting legal in more states in the US. Some countries it's already illegal, especially South America. You have the more natural stuff. We have psilocybin mushrooms. We have ayahuasca. We have LSD. We have San Pedro, which is a cactus that contains mescaline. These are natural stuff that nature has, that's been placed here on Earth for some reason. I've been experimenting with all of them, all plant medicines. Those are actually things that will help you. And it's not that they will cure the depression. They will just give you the tools that you already have inside you, but you haven't just found them yet. So they will definitely help you find and face whatever you're facing. And it's been, I mean, that's something you guys can Google around and see. There's like tons of people doing all kinds of journeys with these plant medicines, and their life has, has just gone in a completely other direction and just helped them tremendously. If I have to put something that you should take instead of that. So yeah, I don't know if it's okay to talk about that, but I'm a big passionate about when it comes to psychedelics and plant medicines. Okay. And hopefully in the future, before I die, that's going to be all legal and everybody's going to be using them, at least the people that needs to.
Yeah. So medicine as a last resort, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if a person is yeah, sorry, Karen.
No. I was just going to say also, and this is definitely not to bash the therapist or anything either. So as I see it, and that's also a little bit the reason what I'm going to get into later and explain. But for me, the prescribed medicine, the second last would be for me, and we're not talking many steps here. I'm just taking second last, and that doesn't sound like it's very at the bottom. But second last will be go to a therapist. And once again, I think a therapist is amazing. They have a lot of knowledge, et cetera. But I feel like we're not, I'm not going somewhere to somebody to have a surgery on me or whatever. I'm just opening up and talking about my feelings, my emotions. That people need to go to a therapist to do that. I feel like that it's so sad. And as I said, I lived in the US. There's the norm. Everybody has a therapist. They're like, oh, I got to my therapist for 7 years. They're amazing. And I'm like, have you been to a therapist for 7 years? Then something is fucking wrong. Excuse me. And those therapists are not cheap. They're paying, I don't know how many $100 per session. And so instead of just cutting the tree and let it just fall, instead what they're doing is they're just plucking the leaves carefully from you. And then they finally just like started, taking off the branches one by one, and then maybe chops the actual, tree a little bit by part. So instead of just like, no, get to the root cause here. But that's their job. Of course, they would probably be out of job if they would just be always directly to the point. I'm not saying all therapists is like that. Exactly, in the US, they're on every corner. But so I feel like they want to have you as long as possible as clients. Obviously, that's how they make their income. So, and once again, it's not about bashing the therapists. I think some of them are probably amazing, but I feel like these are things that we should be able to open up and talk to friends, talk to whoever, and not be like, oh shit, I'm going to feel ashamed. I'm going to feel whatever, or that person will hate me after that. No.
Okay, cool. So if, say, just go back to the therapist side of things, if somebody has been going to a therapist for a number of years, spending thousands and thousands of dollars, is that the right therapist for them, if that's the case?
Me personally say absolutely not. No.
But you would agree that therapists sometimes are very helpful to be able to, if you get the right one that has your interest at heart?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And once again, I think there are probably many, many amazing therapists out there. I have zero doubts. I mean, I know a couple of them that are really famous. I mean, Gabor Mate, for example, is a very famous trauma therapist, and specifically worked with trauma and childhood trauma and stuff. And I feel like his work is just, I really, I don't know if you saw the latest documentary, Wisdom of Trauma, that he just released.
Yes, I did. It was brilliant.
Oh, you did? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's brilliant. I just loved it so much. And I'm like, wow, that's a real, I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to be Gabor Mate, but I know there's a lot of good, therapists out there, but I feel also it's been, it's going to be, at least it shouldn't be the only option. Come on, guys. It should be, something we can talk about in a group or talk to a friend, however you want to open up and talk about it, but we should be.
Yeah. I tried to, I went back onto that link about the gentleman and the trauma, and it's no longer free. Otherwise, I would have got it up in the group.
I know.
I went back there last weekend, and I thought, so it cost $500 plus $10 per person. So I didn't do that.
Wow.
But it is definitely worth looking at that if it ever comes up free again.
Yeah.
And just sitting, I was astounded at what he was telling about the childhood trauma and things like that. It was actually an amazing video. What we'll do is we'll put that in the link in the description so that if people want to check that gentleman out, we can follow him a little bit more. So, yeah. Okay, so is there anything else apart from the therapy? Are there books that you could suggest we read?
Sorry, a book that I can suggest that can be read.
Yeah. What have you found helpful for yourself? If there's 10, just say 10 of them.
Oh God, okay. There are many books, but no. If I really want to point down to one book, once again, we're talking about if I give too many options, I think people are going to be, oh my God, I'm going to do all these, and then they'll read anyone. Everybody that listen to this, and if anybody, I think actually, I was going to say anybody that suffers from depression, but I think everyone should read this book. But especially if you have that problem with your inner dialogue, that inner voice, and not understanding yourself, if you truly want to find yourself, it's a book called The Untethered Soul.
Okay.
I can put it there in the chat. The Untethered Soul by Michael B. Singer. It's like, I think I've highlighted more in that book than actually, so it's more if I would say what's not highlighted and what's highlighted is more highlighted than not highlighted. If you get what I mean. I think I've never highlighted so much a book as that one. It's a gem. It's so good. Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
that's good.
diamond. It's a diamond for me. Yeah.
That's good. So you briefly started to talk about the aspect of a difference between a woman and a man
Hmm?
before. Would you like to enlarge a little bit on that? Is there a difference?
In difference in what would you mean?
Well, we're both humans, male and
Yeah.
male and females. Is there a difference between how depression affects each individual, whether male or female?
Uh, Good question. Um,
Or is depression depression and it tends to affect people similar?
I mean, I definitely feel I've seen many similar personalities that myself, like very typical personality that I have, the outgoing, the very social, very happy normally. And then they have this, so when you have very high tops, sometimes you have very low, also, what do you call it, the opposite, the low dips. So I definitely have seen that. And in but difference from men to women, for me, the problem, if I'm not talking about men and women and depression, is that women are so much better opening up and talking about it to their friends, to their parents, or to whoever they need to talk to. Women have way less shame than men. Men
Mm,
has been, I think, and this comes from, probably stems from, very back in the days, like, you don't talk about that, like, come on, we should be macho and be like, yeah, I'm the man here, and we should never cry, we should never show any,
yep.
emotion. And which is, it's so fucked up, because we men, we're also human beings, we also have emotions, and we should obviously be able to cry, we should be able to talk about these things, be able to be extremely vulnerable to someone. I think that's so beautiful. For me, that's a real man that can open up like that, not the one that be like, oh, try to pretend they are something, and then you have zero idea what's happening behind the curtains. It might be they suffer tremendously. Exactly. Mostly women are better communicators. Jenna, you are spot on. The funny thing, Jenna, and to everyone else, my closest people are just women. I have obviously very, very good male friends that are my like brothers, but when it comes to the communicator, or in general the communication, it's my mom, my wife, my best friend Lena, as another woman here, and that's the one I like. We have the most deepest talks about anything. I have also some guys that actually can open up and talk mostly about, but yes, they're definitely better communicators, and that is also something I want to change more and more. Once again.
Okay, cool. Do hormones play a part in between the difference, male, female? Does that add to anything?
I truly believe so, of course, since women also have a thing women never have, and it's the period,
Yeah.
at least, for X amount of years. So, of course, that plays a role. Maybe also the other, like, hormonal structure in the body, etc., with different things. Yes, of course, we differs a little bit.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you really want to open men up so that
Hmm.
they're more communicative. Um, you've actually set something up, haven't you?
Yeah, I've set something up. Correct.
Tell
Yes,
us
yes,
a
yes.
little bit about it.
So what I did, and this is what is it now? It's been up for 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yep.
So I opened up a private face. So I'm going to tell. So this is just the beginning, what I see, of a massive, massive brand. Exactly, and that's that full range of emotions. So as a trainer, one of the key things I always tell all my clients is that always work the full range of motion when you work with any type of exercise. If you're working out your arms, your legs, whatever it might be. So always focus on, let's say the bicep curl should be the full bicep curl, not just like half ones or
Yep.
whatever. Just to, prevent injuries, to, improve that mobility, the flexibility, and to work the muscle fully out. And the same I want us to do with emotions, because that's something we do. We suppress them. Like, we don't fully want to actually feel our emotions. As I said, once again, women are way better doing this. If we talk emotions, obviously it's not just sad or negative stuff. It can also be very happy stuff. Us men are probably better. There we always scream and we're super happy. We get ridiculously
Yeah.
emotionally, when it comes to state of like euphoria almost. But when it comes to these little bit more, that might seem like, oh no, but that's what women do. You should not cry. You should not wimp. You should not do this or whatever. So I'm like, nope. So this is exactly what I want to do here. So full range of emotion. So it started off as a Facebook group, private Facebook group, only for men. I wish I could invite women, and there's a lot of women trying to join, but it's just going to be with men because I feel like I want to focus on men here, and get some sort of support system. And my intention with this whole group is that I want to do just what I explained earlier. I don't want it to be that the only option should be, oh, I need to go talk to a doctor, I need to go talk to a therapist, what's wrong with me? No, here's where we can be a completely judgmental free space where we can open up and talk about anything, all kinds of emotions, even though mostly maybe focusing on depression and those stuff. So I think it just in general, people that suffer from mental health issues, or just maybe want to be part of the group and just take care, or maybe have some good advice or tips or whatever. So this is just the beginning, what I see to become something very big. I'm thinking about eventually also opening up or starting a podcast, do the same almost like we are doing, Jane, and every time bring on a guest and talk about that person's story.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see people opening up. And I mean, coming back to, looking at what I've been going through in my life, it's almost like I feel ashamed. I feel almost it's pathetic if I compare it to what some people open up and describe what they've been going through. I'm like, oh my God. But once again, depression doesn't need to become from something extremely horrible. Anybody can suffer from it. I mean, I'm a living proof from that. And when you're in it, there's no level, I would say. I mean, of course, you can suffer from just, I feel just a little bit down. But let's say two people, one has the most horrible background, let's say sexually abused as a kid, just been no parent, whatever you might come up with the story. Like, let's say the worst case scenario, when that person is in that depression at the deepest, and a person that might have had a fabulous life, but that person also is in the deepest, they are still there. And doesn't matter so much the background there. It's just you are so in deep shit. It's it doesn't matter.
All right. Jen has come up. Jen has come up with a suggestion with regards to reaching out to men. You got plans to do that?
If I we're going to reach out to women, you said?
No, men. If you need to go where the men are, the gym. If there's a way that we could help get people into this group, what would you suggest? If we know of a male friend, some male in our life, and they just need a little bit of support, what can we do to share it around?
No, I mean, I'm super thankful and grateful for everyone that wants to share my group, and invite their friends or coworkers, family members, whoever they feel would be suited for this group. The thing is I've noticed that some people are like, no, but I'm cool, I'm good. There might be a person that would be perfect for this group, but they don't want to actually admit it. So they're still in this denial phase, which I was as well. And we're up to 62 members right now. So I'm super happy from that, and then we got some from the another ex-Jehovah's group that we got some members from. We got some members from the trauma group. So little by little, it's gonna come, and I feel like, and also I don't have a rush. I'm not looking to be like, oh, I'm gonna grow this to 3,000 members before the end of the year. No, that will be amazing, obviously, but I see this will be a slowly growing community, at least in the beginning, and I think it will just become bigger and bigger, and hopefully it will be some sort of movement, some sort of institution for like, this is the place where we should, and I just want to be, for me, it's more about getting heard all over the place. Like people, and it doesn't have to be through me, honestly. This is not like I have to be someone that created some amazing stuff. I just want people in general all over the world be able to talk more about it, so we can, people can cope with it better, less suicides. I feel life is too beautiful, even if I wouldn't say that when I'm in my deepest shit. But most of the times I always say life is too beautiful, to just take it away like that.
Yeah, very true. So it's really a safe place for guys to be guys.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, I've got so many beautiful comments and people opening up and sharing about their stories and their background. And I've started doing weekly Zoom calls with the group as well, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. my time, Central European Standard Time. So it's been super good, and we have talks. We finished with a breath work, so it's been really really good, and people really enjoy it. So I hope this will. Yeah, I feel like this is. I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg. I think this is going to be huge.
Yeah, it will be. So you just mentioned breathworks. What's that all about?
Gosh, breath works goes very well hand in hand with meditation. Actually, you don't have
Okay.
to meditate and do breath work, but breath work is. I mean, it's kind of funny actually, and I can recommend people to look up that guy because he's kind of hilarious, and I think he has a funny touch to it, and that's a Dutch guy called Wim Hof. He's called the Iceman. So he loves to do breath work and ice baths. That's his stuff.
Oh, really?
He's a super, yeah, amazing guy. A lot of knowledge, but a very funny dude. And I met him. I was the one in his seminars in LA. He's around 60 something, but he has several Guinness World Records in certain stuff also when it comes to cold therapies. He's like crazy. But coming to the breath work, I mean, also once again, simplify it. What is breath work? What is just breathing? Different type of, and it's not like a very specific way of breathing. Just do deep breath. I mean, what we all human beings, no matter what, exactly have in common, what we all are exactly identified is that we all are breathing. We're breathing. We're doing a constant. That's what keeps us
Yeah.
alive. And such a simple thing that can switch so much. And that is well when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel stressed, when you are depression, do some breath work. And why I say work is because you actually you're not sitting and breathing and doing stuff. No, you actually concentrate and you do the breathing. And you could be doing 30 deep breaths, just like
Mm-hmm.
fully in, fully out, fully in, fully out, and it makes the world. I mean, it's such a different. So what we did now, for example, in the last call, we all were just like doing that breath work, and we needed probably around, it was like a 5-minute one, and you can do longer if you want also, but it's something super simple. I highly recommend people if they want to look up, like Google, whatever. But Wim Hof is a great start. He has one where you do 30 breaths in and out. And then he even said, like, at the end of it, like, full breathe out and then hold your breath and take time and do that 3 times. So 90 breaths in total. It's a simple procedure. You don't have to go that far. But so that's also a thing. You can come to such an altered state of consciousness also just with breathing. It's kind of, you get almost emotional. Many people can, I've many times started crying of just the beauty of life after doing like very deep breathing. So it's kind of cool.
Yes. I guess, like you said before, women are used to doing this. They're better at communicating. I've heard,
Yeah.
I've heard them talk about breathing and journaling. And now you're telling us guys that it would be a good idea.
Oh yes, absolutely. So I'm gonna do like this. If I can, let's see here. If I can put Wim Hof. There you go. So in the chat there, I don't know if everybody else see the chat, but there's his name, Wim Hof.
Okay, what we'll do is I'll get you to send those links to us.
Yeah.
And then we'll put them up so that we've all got to see it. So if there's a guy, and I know when you were saying that, I'm going, okay, what would you say to guys that go, okay? And they're
You
thinking
mean
in their head, yeah, that they're going, yeah, she's right, mate. Whatever. You want me to do that? What would you say to those guys who are, if they come across this or if they've heard, similar things from other people, what would you say to them?
you mean about joining the group?
Well, joining the group or doing the breath work or journaling or any of the ones that that have helped you, the steps you've taken. What would you say to them?
I mean, one thing also that was like a big thing. I feel like I've always been a very good sales guy. I can convince a lot of people, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes that goes to a point where I'm like, and that this is something else I realized very much last year, because I had a couple of incidents last year with some very close people. And I'm like, shit, that really like hit my face in a way. I'm like, and I totally respect it now. And what I'm about to say is that you can't put your own values onto other people. So just let's say you and me, Shane, we're exactly
Yep.
on the same page here. You're like, yes, it's this and that. And then we tell it to another one, and we know so badly that this person needs it, but they're like, as you said, they get a reaction you just showed me. What can we do? We can't force them, And it's like, if that's, hey, I'm here to help, and that's as much as you can do. And of course, then some people might be able to penetrate that person's head a little bit more and be like, no, but listen now, come on, I'm serious. This is going to be a really important stuff. Give it a try for a week or two. If you feel like, oh, holy shit, this is not my thing, well, then fine. And in general, when it comes to things that are just like, nah, I also feel like I have a little bit when people think they know everything. That's to me, that's not going to do anything. I hate that very nonchalant behavior. I'm like, no, I'm open to, even if somebody comes to me, and this is, I'm honest, Shane. If somebody comes to me with the most stupid thing, or I'm like, holy shit, I still will not, diss that person, or I would not be like, what the fuck are you talking about, or whatever. I would be like, oh, interesting, and at least I might give it a thought. I'm not saying I'm going to try everything everyone tells me, but it would still be like, give it a thought and be like, respect that person's point of view, that has worked for him or for her, and that's awesome, and I think I'm an extremely curious person. I love to open up, and I love to try new things, and whatever it is, at least try it, whatever it is, eating a new sort of food, if it's a new sort of training, if it's a new way of, in this case, let's say breath work or whatever, try it out. Give it a fair try for X amount of days or whatever. Exactly. They got to be humble, as some Facebook users said. And I'm extremely humble to everything. It's like, gosh, I feel like I'm a sponge. I just want to suck on to everything. Just try it out at least.
Can understand that. Yeah. Well, you've opened up with some very personal things, and we really appreciate that.
Sorry, I had what?
You open up with some very personal things, what you've been through, your journey through that. That's amazing, because
Thank you.
I don't know what the percentage of the world's populations of males would actually open up about things like that. So well done for doing that. Well done for having this
there's
passion.
probably less than these fingers on this arm, percentage-wise. Unfortunately, I don't know the statistics, but my wild guess will be less than 5% is opening up and talking about this.
Yeah. Well,
there's so few.
Yeah, I know here in New Zealand, they're trying to push mental health for men. There's a guy, he's run all sorts of things. This might sound like a funny name, but he calls it the Nutter Club. He's actually just handed back to the government his OBE, I think he had, which is one of those recognition things. That he said, look, this government's not doing much for mental health. They're promising things. And this is how bad I feel, and I don't feel having this is doing any good for mental health. So there are a few men out there that is, his name is King. I shouldn't even think of his first name. I can't remember. But he brings up some massive points. He does it in a humorous way as well to try and get through to men. So well done for doing what you're doing. So
thank you.
Yeah, so we'll put in the link to your Facebook group for men.
Yes.
And we can encourage anybody in the Life After group to share it around, because we need to get it out there. Now, it's not just, it's for all men, isn't it? Regardless of belief.
All men, exactly, regarding belief, absolutely, from all walks of life.
Cool. Well, we do want to say thank you very much for being here and sharing us your journey, really, and what you've learned and what you're planning to do in the future. And we wish you well on your mission, because we need all the resources we can, regardless of our belief. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today, Ben. We've certainly appreciated that, and
thank you for
we look forward to catching up again. So if anybody wants to reach out to Ben, we'll put his wife is in our group. So we'll put his wife's contacts in some of the links so that you can reach out to Ben through his wife. She's a lovely woman. I must say, your wife, when she does her little videos about life, very nice.
Thank you. Yeah,
nice and simple.
Feel free to reach out directly to me just put my name there. I think you can tag me even if I'm not in the group, or if not,
Okay.
just I'll join your group. It doesn't matter, whatever. So yeah, tag me there.
Cool. Just a message come through for you, Ben.
Oh, awesome! Thank you so much,
So
Facebook user.
I think that's Patty.
All right.
So yeah, we really appreciate that. So guys and gals, we appreciate you being on the live stream. Sorry about the interruption and technical issues for whatever reason. We're glad you stuck around, and we hope those who are able to look at this a little bit later can get value from this. Just remember, there are things that we can do in our group to help us with regards to coping with these things. And just as a way, before we say, well, we'll say goodbye now. Thank you for being here, for all the comments and the heartfelt expressions that one's put in the comments.
Life after Jehovah's Witnesses. What are we going to do? What can you do? Is it really possible that you can dare to dream? How can we do that? Regardless of who you are, each one of us who has left a high control group will go through the stages that all survivors go through. Some move through a little faster than others. You see, when we lose something, we can get hurt, whether from family or our thinking. We may be in denial or speechless at the shock of it all. What is it all about when we get numb? It may be a roller coaster of emotion when you least expect it. We might search through our life and get angry at what's happened, or feel afraid when things happen in the world because we were taught to think that way. And as we go down this journey, we may get lonely. We might panic about things that they've taught us for so many years, and then when we finally do something for ourselves, we feel guilty. Through this journey of highs and lows, we need to make some adjustments. Yes, we might get depressed, we might get upset, we might feel that we don't fit in anywhere. The new relationships that we have, whether romantic or in everyday life, shows us the strength that was there all along. The patterns that we formed in our lives are now gone. We have the power within. We are free to create new patterns that give us hope, gives us a chance to finally help ourselves, to move on, to enjoy the freedom we now have and live the life we deserve. Will you dare to dream? But the question remains, how? You have the freedom. You can have a guilt-free life. It's all there for you to have. So you can dare to dream. Life holds special magic for those who dare to dream.